Hi, Dr. Shelby. Thank you so much for joining this podcast episode. Really appreciate it. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine to have you, and it's super excited to have a conversation with you. It's like an interesting topic we have in our hand, which is like why and how slowing down will actually help us in productivity and ability to grow our business. We oftentimes like we know like we have to grind hard and just fast pace and slowing down, there's a no question, right? So you're
Yeah.
advocate on that, like you want to talk about that. So before that, I'd love to know more about yourself, like your journey into business world,
Mhm.
how and when did you come up with an idea like we want to be business owners?
Gotcha. That's an interesting question, and it's a bit of a long-winded answer.
Yeah.
I actually started out in Western medicine. And prior to that, I went through a diagnosis with Crohn's disease, which led me to a very long healing journey, multiple surgeries, flaring out of control. Like just my body was totally out of control.
Mm,
And at some point, like after having surgery after surgery and like still not doing well on medications, I was like, I realized that my body was actually crying out for help and I needed to stop and I needed to step away from medicine. And so I took a pause for a while to really work on myself, to work on my health, to figure out, how I could even get better. And once I finally did that, which took me years, then I started to feel not just in remission, not just okay, but I started to feel amazing. And I said, okay, hold on. There's definitely something here. I think I can help people with what I've learned
mhm.
through my journey. So I went to school for health coaching, which ultimately led me to become a business owner. So I currently am in business for health coaching. So I help other women who are going through autoimmune disease, gut issues, gut health issues, and I help them work on things holistically. And I think entrepreneurship, being a business owner, is probably the fastest way to work on your personal growth if you choose to do so,
Yeah.
because you have to course correct really quickly. And, my mind was still in that very much go, go, go mentality, having my eye on medical school, getting through medical school and wanting to be a doctor and all of that was constantly go, 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 very heavy on perfectionism. Like everything had to be perfect, right? Straight A
Mm,
student, the whole thing, right? And getting sick and going through all of that started to help me understand that there's something that's not working. And it took me years later to put the pieces together to really understand that that mentality, that culture starts to create so much stress internally. And sometimes we kind of know it, but there's also, I mean, let's be honest, right? I
yeah.
think there can be a badge of honor in a way of being like, oh, I worked so hard and I did this and I didn't have as much sleep. And that almost becomes this very subtle competition, right? Um, which I started to see years and years later. And I was like, wow, once I started to really consciously slow down and to be like, okay, what are the things that are important to me? Am I willing to put my health first? Am I willing to focus on the things that I'm eating? And I had to do this because having autoimmune disease and wanting to get well, like it forced me to focus on
Yeah,
all
it's,
of
it's
those
it's not
things.
easy. I got the same problem as you, and
Mhm.
mine is ulcerative colitis, so same
So,
autoimmune disease, and all flare up came in like 4 or 5 years back while I was building my business, and I was working 80, 90 hours, and having a lack of sleep, like 2, 3 hours maximum of sleeping, because I
Mhm.
constantly like, well, I want to do my work business, I want to go growth, and I get excited about that,
Yeah.
and that was neglected my body, and like it wasn't eating well,
Mhm.
and it got me like a really bad. And then my son got ill, and then after that, like
Mm.
all stress all piled up, and obviously stress can do the autoimmune disease can be really, really worse. And that actually happened, and I think in 2022, and I was hospitalized and everything, got a very, very, very serious position. And then, yeah, I had to make some changes. I had to slow down on my business wise and everything. And that actually helped me right now. Like I asked to stop medication like yourself, like a
Mhm.
traditional medication, it was killing me as well, just like a kind of poisoning my body. And
Absolutely.
instead of like solving one problem, I was creating like a 9, 10 of symptoms. And I was like, oh, what's going on? I cannot believe that. And I found someone last year, like someone like yourself, and holistic way we're approaching with the herbal medications, some of them, and like all about supplements and eating
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
I'll say 80, 90% of some time I'm better because Still, I get the flare up because of my stress, because of my son Noel. So he gets seizure, and
Mm,
sometimes the seizure is like really, really intense. And
sure.
I'm a father and have a soft point for him, and I cannot handle the stress. And it's like a life and death. So when you're life and death situation every other month, and then it's really, really hard. It's not like a normal, I'm just worrying about him. It's just like either he's gonna make it or not gonna make it. And that's kind of tough times. And whenever happens that, then I get some flare, some mild flare compared to what I used to have without any medication. It's
Mm,
so much better. So I had to slow down and learn the process. But not many people are going to agree to that. Like they probably hear us and they're like, "Oh, when my business goes to a certain point, I'm gonna slow down." Or when I'll be recognized with something, or my promotion on the job, whatever that is, then
mhm.
I'm probably gonna slow down. And probably that is like too late for you to slow down. Then you already damaged your body, right? So
Absolutely.
can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a great point that you made. Like we don't tend to realize the problems that we're creating inside our body until our body starts to push back, right?
Yeah.
And it's either through an autoimmune flare or, you might wind up being diagnosed with something like diabetes, high blood pressure,
Yeah.
high cholesterol, thyroid issues, right? All of these point to and stem from stress, right? And the interesting thing is when we slow down and we approach our businesses and our lives from that place of slowdown, we're actually more creative, we're actually more productive. You
Hmm.
can get more done in a lesser amount of time. Like I know for myself, if I've slept really well, I stick to my morning routine, I have that spaciousness. Like my morning routine for me is non-negotiable. People say, why don't you start at, 8:30 or 9 in the morning? I'm like, no, I refuse. I need to
Hmm.
get me nourished first so I can show up. And then when I'm in that space, and I need to either create content or be creative or do marketing or whatever, like it just flows so much easier, right? It gets to be
Yeah.
so much easier. And part of the reason that most of us go into entrepreneurship is to have that flexibility in life, right? To be in
Yeah.
control of our work life.
That's
So
why we
why?
would get started, right? But when we actually get
Yeah,
on the game, like we forget about it, right? We look at all the
exactly.
prizes and everything, like all recognition, all the money, everything. But if
Mhm,
you ask someone why you wanna quit from your job and wants to
mhm,
be in your business, they'll tell you like, I need some more time so I can go more holidays and I can have some freedom. The boss not nagging on me and things like that. But when they
yeah,
actually start their business, they're 2 years in, 3 years in, they
mhm,
forget about all this. And instead of that, like they're gonna focus on something else external to find for happiness.
mm,
And that's the problem, right?
yes, because true happiness comes from within,
Yeah.
right? It comes back to tapping into that deeper why, right? Why are you doing this? Is it
Mm.
truly about the money? Is it for that deeper satisfaction? I mean, I know for me, like nothing gives me the joy that working with my clients gives me.
Yeah.
Like seeing them make those changes, seeing them have those aha moments, and seeing their whole lives change as they get healthier. I mean, there's no greater joy, right? So
Mm.
that's what it comes down to. Like that's my
Yeah.
purpose. That's my mission. Being stressed out for me, non-negotiable because it's not worth it. I have this one body, I have this one life, and I get to use my body to serve my business, not
Mm.
the other way around.
It's true.
Yeah.
So how someone can like have their business or life in the cruise control and step up it in their like day-to-day grind and just be in the present and think about like what I needs to be improving on. Probably
Mhm.
their health is on point. Probably someone is healthy. Probably they're doing
Mhm.
going to the gym and everything. But probably their relationship is not right, or probably their social circle is not right. Probably every other like connecting with their God or spirituality or like their
Mhm.
inner like finding who I am, what's my life purpose is. So how do someone can step back and find answer them questions and go through with them life?
That's a great question. I think the first thing is to create space for that, right? I know for myself, every day I create some time for internal reflection as
Mm.
to where am I right now? Where do I want to be? What tweaks do I need to make? What changes do I need to make, if anything? Right.
Yeah,
And that's the case with business too, right? Like, is the business going well? Is it going the way that you want to? If not, like, we're going to make tweaks. It's literally the same thing in our
yeah.
lives, right? So I think that's number one. Um, and I feel like making sure your cup is full first, making sure you're nourished, you're fed. Because if you're exhausted, depleted, cranky, frustrated, that's how you're going to show up to a relationship. Like that's how, and then you're going to cancel on the social commitments with
Mm.
chances are friends that you really enjoy being around. And like, but I don't have time. Time is the most precious commodity, right? Not money, not material things, time and
Yeah.
love and happiness, right? And what if we valued that the most? Like to really say, what are the things that nourish me? What are the things that feed my soul, right? Who are the people? What are the places? What are the foods? What are the things? What if those are non-negotiable because I'm doing this for me? I'm doing this so that I can be healthy first. And when I'm the most healthy, when I'm the most grounded, when I'm the most calm, I'm the most productive in my business for my staff, for my mission, for my purpose. It starts with you,
Hmm.
right? It all starts with you. And it's an internal job first. And then that starts to create what you say you want, right? Which is more ease, more time,
Yeah,
being able to be with the ones that you love, being able to maybe travel or, do the things that you couldn't do because you were in this rigid box schedule.
totally. And obviously you mentioned like you're non-negotiable in the morning time.
Mhm,
Like, what do you do like for your being a present or like having the slow down like, kind of lifestyle?
mhm.
Do you have any routine or pattern?
Yeah. So, I mean, I start every day with meditation. I write in a gratitude journal, which, it's easy to do. It's also potentially easy not to do, but
Hmm.
every single day I write down a series of things, could be three things, could be 10 things that I'm just so grateful to have in my life. And what that does, it already starts to wire my mind to look more at the positive rather than what's wrong in life, right? Immediately I'm starting off looking at what's going right. Um, always have some sort of physical movement in the morning. That's non-negotiable because again, it gets the blood pumping, gets my brain juices going, energizes me, right? Um, and then I might journal for a while as to either what I want to work on today, what might be coming up. If there's stuff that's looping in my mind, once I write it, it's out of my mind, which
Yeah.
frees me then to focus on what I really want to focus on.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do something like that as well. Like, I
Mhm.
try to wake up super early. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's not possible. When you have a little child and sometimes he screams because my son had to take about 8 milliliter of melatonin to put him
Mm.
sleep because of the seizure medication he had. And some nights it's like he wakes up about 15, 20 times. So sometimes like we have to transfer over me, my wife sometimes it's me, and we get really less sleep sometimes, and that's really hard for us to wake up. We have to recover from in the morning time. And so
Sure.
whenever he's having a good sleep, I try to wake up super early, 5, 6
Mhm.
o'clock, then do my prayer, then reading like a Quran while I read.
Mhm.
Then after that, like a meditation. So
Mhm.
I had before I started all this, I had a 5 minutes rule for everything. So instead of like I try to do half an hour meditation of half an hour yoga,
Mhm.
I tried to do that after like a 1 week. I gave up on that because I felt like it too overwhelming and sometimes it's not easy.
Sure.
So I tried to
Yes.
with like a 5 minutes. So I make sure I do that. So yoga, meditation, breath work. So because of my
Mhm.
anxiety needs to be calmed down for myself, it actually
Yes.
helped me. Then all of them supplements I take, then
Mhm.
some prayers I do, some little bit of exercise, and then get on with the day. And obviously journaling I do. I don't do in the morning, I do in the evening time. So whatever
Mhm.
happened on the day
Mhm.
and what I'm grateful for, I forget about like whatever didn't happen for the day, what happened for the day. Like I'm appreciating every single thing. And
Yes.
then that gives me like a good night's sleep as well.
Mhm.
So these are like a thing routine, and also in the evening time when my son goes to bed about 8 p.m. and then I listen to some motivational stuff or
Mhm.
inspirational stuff and things like that, and also
Mhm.
just being there with like in YouTube, like they have relaxing music on. I just be
Yes.
there and sitting time on my couch with like relaxing music on, and that's it, like me and my thoughts and just
Mhm.
relaxing for a bit. So these kind of things actually helped me in terms of like being calmed down and slow down with
Mhm.
my grinding and everything. Like I stopped from my business world to like a me time, and sometimes like you watch Netflix and things like that, not every day, and and that actually helped.
Yeah.
So a lot of people feel like guilty about like slowing down. They think
Mhm.
like they're disservicing their business or like their personal life, whatever the case is. And
Mhm.
especially in the US all about like you need to hustle, hustle, hustle,
Yeah.
and like they feel guilty like if they slow down for a day or two, let
Mhm.
alone like a week or like a few months, and that's not even possible. So
Yeah.
how don't they like prioritize themselves over like feeling about guilty or anything like that, it's okay to slow down. How,
Mhm.
who can tell that? Obviously, except for like themselves. If anyone else say that, like they're gonna be their enemy, right?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, yes, it comes down to you being able to give that permission to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think in the beginning, it's so much easier said than done. Like, I don't know about your case, but I know for me, my back was literally against the wall, and it was
Mm.
either that or, like,
Yeah, same with me. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So that becomes easier because it's like, well, what's the alternative? Go back and have five more surgeries? I don't think so,
Mm.
Um, so I think it comes down to realizing that in any situation, in any moment in time, you always have a choice, right? And you've seen what's been happening so far, right? If you've been doing this for days, weeks, months, years, decades, you've seen how it feels so far, right? So you know what that's like. What if you could give yourself permission to change and try something different for 3 weeks,
Hmm.
right? And like you said, 5 minutes a day, easy to do,
Yeah.
right? We can all find 5 minutes to do three or four things that will serve us and just treat it like an experiment, right? Like treat it like something new that you were going to bring to your business, right? Treat it the same way and see how you feel and make a decision at the end. If you feel worse, you can always throw it out. Nobody's holding a gun to your head, right? But what if you feel better? What if you feel so much more calmer? What if you start to be like, my goodness, what the heck have I been doing all this time? you know? And that starts to then shift you in a direction where your nervous system is more calm, which leads you to be more open, which leads you to be more present, not just in life, but it translates into your business, into your work, into every single interaction, right? And what could that ripple effect
Yeah.
create for you?
It's totally.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. So what would be your number one advice for anyone like who wants to have like a better life for themselves and in a holistic way they can take care of themselves and in a good how they can start off like what would be your number one advice for them?
I mean, it all starts with you, right? So start taking inventory, is what I would say, of what are you eating? How are you sleeping? Who are the people in your life? What are the places in your life? Who are the people that are serving you, right? What are the interactions? What are the foods? What are the things that leave you feeling more tired, exhausted, annoyed, frustrated afterwards versus the things that leave you feeling more fulfilled, happy, joyful, right? And it doesn't need to be anything crazy. Like for me, I live in New York City and I go for a walk in Riverside Park and I see, the sunlight on the river and I'm just the
Mm.
happiest person ever. Like it could be something that small, a walk out in nature, right? So why not add that into your routine during lunchtime or something?
Yeah.
So it's increasing those things that fill you up, that make you more happy, that give you more joy, and decreasing the things that do the latter, right? And finding that balance because usually we're skewed more in that heavy negative sort of direction. So how can we bring ourselves more to balance? It's never not necessarily like not in a day or week or even 6 months is it going to be like 100% the other direction? No, but
Mm.
it's a process, right?
Yeah.
And your body will thank you for it because you'll be less stressed.
That's great. Thank you so much for the advice. So, Shalvi, we're
Um,
nearly coming to end of this podcast. It's been a great pleasure having you on the show. So, if anyone wants to learn more about yourself, your business, where's the best
mhm.
place to find you?
You can find me on my website, www.drselvi.com. It's drselvi.com. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. So, yeah, those are the best
Great. Thank you
places.
so much for that. So, I wish you best of luck with your business, your personal life, and thank you so much for coming to the show today.
Thank you so much again for having me. It was a great, great pleasure to be here.
The pleasure was mine. Thank you. That's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode with Dr. Selvi today. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. If anyone wants to learn more about her, you can visit her website or you can find her on social media platforms. So until then, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care.